Hola guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back, y'all. My name is Elle and this is my perspective. Before I get started, if you are watching this on Friday the 13th, I would like to tell you, Feliz Friday the 13th. Um, so I am actually doing this video to be a part two of the 10,000 Mexican peso shenanigans that I posted a few days ago. So let me fill in some details, and then I'm also going to tell you what I am learning along the way. Um, Before I get started, what I want to say is anytime I have an issue or I come up into a oopsie, what happened, then I am going to learn from it as much as possible. And for me, here in Merida, what learning is I need to learn more about the culture, how this situation happened, and how I can move forward so that it doesn't happen again. So, the other thing that I want to tell you is that the information that I will be sharing with you, especially later on in this video, is coming from attorneys and real estate agents, as well as my firsthand experience. If a source is anything else, then I will let you know. So, this is December 22nd of 2022. It is around Christmas, and that is when I was looking at the first property, right? From that story that I was telling you about the 10,000 pesos. So from that incident, that was around Christmas of last year. I looked at it, and because I liked it, I put my deposit down, right? The deposit was the 10,000 pesos. I did get a receipt from the real estate agent because I paid her the cash. And so she gave me a receipt with her signature on it. Um, all of this information is important. So January 1st came. I was supposed to be in my place very soon. January 1st came, I still had no contract. The attorney, sorry, no, the real estate agent was saying that the owner was out of town and give him a few more days or whatever the case is. And so as that time had been going by and we're at January 1st, and I'm not feeling okay. Like it's not okay with me because in the United States, I'm a very punctual person. So here I'm thinking I'm still needing to be very punctual. Like my hotel reservation or my hotel stay is coming to an end abruptly. And I had moved up to say, hey, I want to be in this place by said day because I didn't want to be moving from the hotel to my new space all in one day. I wanted to do more than one trip because it's going to be Uber that I'm going to be doing back and forth, back and forth. And I ain't trying to have everything. And then the other part is things that I need to clean myself because I have OCD. I wanted to make sure things were clean before I actually brought my belongings in. So I did not want to do a move in one day. I don't ever want to do a move in one day because it's overload for me and my OCD. So I have said that I wanted to find another place. I don't want to deal with him anymore. I just want to find another place. And so they were looking for another place. Everybody was like, okay, cool, gonna look for another place. Um, Between me saying I want to look for another place and me actually finding or being another place being found for me, the contract happened to come in. I had already said I didn't want to deal with that man. My vibe was not okay. I didn't want to deal with him. So I get the contract, I forward it on to my attorney. And that's when I had found out that he did not own the property and so forth and so on. And so I was just like, I let the real estate agency know my attorney says that this man is not a real person and he doesn't own these properties. And the real estate agent was like, well, we've dealt with him in the past. Like we've had other clients with this man. And so it's just like, so y'all, that just brings up so many questions. It does, but that's going to detract me from this story. So while I am here at this place looking, my real estate agent, the female real estate agent, is talking to my owner's real estate agent and explaining, you know, hey, She backed out of another contract. It's like this is all being said in Spanish, but it's like she backed out of a contract. And so we're still in the process of getting her 10,000 pesos back and so forth and so on. The reason that this conversation was being had was because, yes, I still needed to put my deposit down for this place, but they were trying to figure out how much would they ask of me at signing. So if I do not have an aval, which I do not, meaning I don't have someone that I know here in Merida that is willing to sign for me in case I don't pay. So those types of things, plus the first month's rent and so forth and so on. And so because of the situation where I was still waiting for the 10,000 pesos, that automatically was like, yeah, she's already out 500. She hasn't gotten it back. I don't know if between them they were all like, yeah, she ain't about to get that money back. Like I don't know what that meant, but she said that she was going to be nice and be lenient and not ask a lot from me. So once I paid the deposit, if I wanted to move forward at signing, I would need an additional 3.5 months deposit. So again, when I told you in a previous video that sometimes you need to go and make trips to the ATM over several days. When you know you are about to move, make sure you already have that stuff taken care of because you're not going to be able to get with the Wise card, you're not going to be able to get that much money out of the ATM in one day. So, or let alone one transaction. So just make sure that you're aware of that. So, fast forward, I'm here. I have this place. The male real estate agent is chatting back and forth with that first quote unquote owner. While they are chatting back and forth, it comes back that he doesn't want to pay me 10,000. He's willing to pay me 9,000. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. Like 9,000 is better than no thousand. And so I say, okay, well, that's fine. And then fast forward, he's like, well, I'm still being ducked and dodged. I've seen him, but he will not acknowledge me. And keep in mind, you cannot go onto someone's property without their permission, or you can go to jail. So it's like I can see him, but shoot, he ain't gonna give me the money. So excuse me. So let's fast forward a little bit more. We're now not even in January anymore. So let's still keep fast forwarding. Every time I'm getting information, a week minimum has passed, but usually weeks have passed. And so the male real estate agent was like, hey, what I've decided to do is I'm just going to pay you out of my pocket. So the agency is going to pay you so that you have your money, and then we will get the money from him. That way you don't have to worry about it. And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. And so time had passed still. And so then it was like, okay, can you meet us next week? If you can meet us next week, we'll get you your money. And so I'm like, okay, cool. And so I'm waiting for the information, where, when, and tell me when, tell me what day, all that. And so I'll be there, punctual. And so I didn't hear anything. And so I was like, am I still waiting for you to give me the date? Because you said you were going to give me the date and I didn't get anything. So I was like, okay, next week. I'm so sorry, next week. And so next week happens, and I'm like, well, okay, in 2 days, like, where am I supposed to be meeting you and what time? I get information back. My boss is back. So I had not met the boss. I had met the male real estate agent. I had met the female real estate agent. I had not met the boss yet. And so the boss comes back and the boss is like, I can't give you money from us. That is not a us problem. That is a you and the owner problem because you gave the money to the owner. And so my response back was, I did not give the money to the owner. I gave the money to blah, 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 the female. I have the receipt that has the female's name on it. I paid her. I did not pay him. And so it's like, so your boss is saying X, Y, and Z, but that's not the situation. And so it's just like my hands are tied. My boss says, I cannot give you your money. Okay, whatever. And so I knew then that I was just like, whatever, because dude can't get a hold of this man and he was going to pay me out of their pocket. But now the boss is there. And so I can only imagine that the boss also said, stop looking for him. She just out of money. That's not our problem. That's her problem. So fast forward, what have I learned since then, and so forth and so on. Like I had told you, I would have my lawyer get the name, I would get the name and the address, the property address that I'm trying to rent, and send it over to my lawyer to see if this person actually owns this address to kind of prevent that kind of thing. Okay, so y'all, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still acquiring information. So this is the part from lawyers, from real estate agents, because it's almost time for me to move into another space. And I want to make sure that I am more informed than I was a year ago, right? And so what I have learned is, well, I did know and find out that to be a real estate agent in Merida, um, at first you did not have to have taken a real estate exam or be certified. Okay. This information is very important. So the real estate agent that I was going to, the agency that I was going to, there was a male, there was a female, there was some type of secretary there. They had an office. Um, did I get a business card? I don't know that I got a business card. Um, and I can't tell you the address because everything was new. Everything was new to me. But here's what I want to say. Just because you can have that entire setup does not mean that you are legit. It does not mean that you have taken the exam. It does not mean that you are a certified real estate agent. Okay? Hear me out. When we went to the different places, the male was there. So there was the male who was showing me a few of the places. He was there at a few of the places, and he was like, if you want to secure this place, you got to put the deposit down, blah, blah, blah. This was the real estate agent who was saying this to me. When I came to this place right here, the male agent was not present, but the female agent also was saying if I wanted to secure it, I need to put the deposit down. Now, let's go over to um, attorney. Attorney, after the fact, y'all, this is after the fact. Attorney is saying it is not required in Merida to put a deposit down. And furthermore, if someone says that they want a deposit, walk away. You do not want to do business with them because you do not need, it is not required by law that you put a deposit down. So where is this misinformation coming from? Because the attorney is saying one thing. The attorney is schooled and knowledgeable, right? The real estate agent is saying something else. The real estate agent is the real estate agents, because both the male and female had said, put the deposit down. But here's where my aha moment came in. You can have this thing that says, I am a real estate agent, but if you didn't pass anything, how do you know that it's not even required that I put a deposit down? You were probably going off of what somebody else told you because you were faking the funk of being a real estate agent. Y'all follow what I'm saying? So you do not have to put a deposit down. Now, here is the thing about Bobby. When you understand a lot of the locals and a lot of the finances, so you as a US citizen, even if you are coming here and you are making $800 a month, $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, whatever the case is, whatever you are making, whatever you have in your bank account is probably more than what an average Mexican is making a month, right? So from my understanding, your deposit goes a really long way. Not only is it supposed to take the property off of the market to be like, hey, somebody's looking at this, is being we holding this for somebody. Not only is it for that, but anytime you go look at a property, a lot of times it's not fixed up the way you want it to be fixed up. Like there's some stuff that needs to be done because the owner in a lot of instances is still needing funding to be able to clean it up into a way that is appropriate. Like, why am I going to clean this up if it's just going to sit for months and months on end, and then I'm going to have to clean it up again when someone wants to move in. So a lot of times it will not be cleaned up after the last person moves out. So when you go look at something, it's like, oh, okay. So I am so glad that that was only my instance in one place where I was just like, oh, okay, well, this got, no, it was more than one. I take it back. I take it back. So just know that a lot of times it helps them to clean up and to fix a place up. Another thing that it can do is because once you say you like a place and you want to move in, guess what? The owner has to, you want to move into a place where the owner has gotten a contract, a legit contract, and has an attorney draw up a contract for you to look at. That's going to cost money. And a lot of times, again, that will come from that deposit that you are paying. So, attorney is saying, hey, don't pay a deposit. If somebody's asking for a deposit, walk away. But then on the other hand, you're like, but if you don't have a deposit, how can you expect them to clean it up to my liking and to have a contract and all this other stuff? And so it's like, well, what do I do? Here's the other part and pieces and so forth and so on. If you pay a deposit, I excuse me, I plan to pay a deposit. I plan to do things a lot different this time, but at the end of the day, I do plan to pay a deposit. However, when I pay the deposit, there will be an expectation of, if I do not go to signing, if I decide to back out, if me and the owner cannot agree on a modification, which leads me to not signing, or me, whatever the case where I don't sign, I want all of my money back. Or if there has to be a negotiation and they're like, hey, minus 1,000 pesos, like I want that in writing on that receipt. Does that make sense? Because what I have is a receipt with the amount of money that I paid, the date, my name, and her, meaning the real estate agent's signature. There is nothing else there. So I can, if I were to say, okay, well, I want to go to attorney to get my money back because, I didn't even go to the sign, and whatever case is. Like, there can be so many things where they could be like, you know what? I told her that if she didn't pay, and that if she did pay but she didn't sign, that she was going to be out that money. Like, that's a standard thing. Everybody knows that. So there are so many different things that can be a he said, she said type thing because nothing was actually written on that receipt, right? It makes sense. So if you decide to do a deposit, excuse me, make sure that you have something, some type of documentation that protects you. Okay? Protect yourself. You put the money down, protect yourself. Something else that I also know is that a lot of times when you are seen as, you pull out that passport, Americana, Canadian, whatever the case is, that you are not from here, you probably have money. So the amount that I'm going to ask you for is not set in stone, guys. So you can also use that as leverage for your deposit before you even put the deposit down, because your deposit is equivalent to 1 month's rent. So if I put down 10,000 pesos for my deposit, but then I want to haggle after the fact, I'm like, nah, how can I do 8,000? Bro, you just paid 10,000. I know you got it. But if you come to the table and you're like, okay, well, because I'm doing this, and this, can we get it to 8,000? Can we get it to 9,000? Whatever the case is. Or if I pay 10,000, can you now do this, and this, right? And so you can make sure that you negotiate. Don't take stuff as is. My bad, because I took stuff as is. Like, I was grateful because blah, 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 because I'm coming from the United States. And so please take that information. Hear me when I'm saying that and do accordingly. Now, do stuff within reason. My place here, I don't have a stove. I cannot say, okay, I'll do this for 10,000 pesos if you put a stove in. Like, there is no place for a stove. If y'all were to see my kitchen area right now, there is no space for a stove. Like, there is no nook, no notch in the counter, no nothing for a stove to go in. Like, there's no place for a stove. So do things within reason. Now, hear this. My place, I have an AC mini split thingy in every room except the bathroom. I don't know that that would go well in there. But let's say that you have a place, and I have heard that there are places that do not have AC in the living room, or AC maybe in the living room but not in the bedroom. Whatever the case is, if you pay X, Y, and Z, you could say, hey, can we add an AC in the living room? Like you can have that and ask for that and negotiate that into the price, right? Make sure you are using your power. Make sure you are walking in your power. I was not doing that. The other thing that I really want you to make sure that you do is have a relationship with your owner and make sure everything is spelled out in the contract. I'm going to give you some examples. When I was here for, let's walk you through the process. So when I was touring this place, there was my attorney, her attorney. There were people, right? There were people, but in those people was her attorney, her and my attorney. Sorry, her real estate agent, my real estate agent, her representative, my owner's representative, because the owner wasn't here. Other people can be present, whoever else can be present, but those are key people. So when you look around, you do not look around as though you are in the United States. Do not do that. What you need to do is turn on all the water, turn on everything. You want to check the water pressure. One thing that one thing that I have been hearing a lot of is you want to check the sinks um, to make sure the sink is even installed properly. Check the pipes, check the water pressure, check the toilets to make sure that everything is working. Turn on all the ceiling fans, turn on all the ACs. If it has a blind, make them work, make everything do what it do. Um, my patio has a gate on both ends. The representative's real estate agent had told me that both of those were my gates. And I don't know, but she was just like, here, you can do the key and make sure that it works, because that's another thing. You want to make sure that the keys work. And so I did the key for one, and okay, it was good and dandy. But then for the other one, I was just like, can you do it? And so she's just like, yeah, it's kind of stuck. And as she's trying to open it, she's just like, that's to get to someone else's property. Y'all, that could have got me a case right there, right there. Because I could have. So she closed it back and she was just like, okay, you do have a key to this padlock, but this is not, once you do, you own somebody else's property. I don't know what she saw over there, but she saw that it wasn't ours, and we hurried up and closed it. We went about our business. I am so grateful that the other unit was actually empty, so no one was over there. But you want someone to walk through everything. If something is missing, if something is not right or whatever, it needs to be documented. It needs to be, you need to make note of it, right? If you come in and let's say that you have grass out front and the representative is like, hey, we'll cut the grass. Don't worry about the grass. We got the grass. You need to make sure that that verbiage is in the document. In when you sign, it needs to be there. If it is not, who said that I said that I was cutting that grass? Like, girl, you better cut that grass. And so when you get on and you WhatsApp it, and it's just like, hey, nobody came to cut the grass this month. That's not my responsibility. That's your responsibility. You need to pay for that. Now that's a whole nother expense that you have. Am I making sense? Are you catching what I'm saying? So you need to go through and you need to take your time. Do not do that thing in the United States where we're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, yeah, I can work with that. If you need to sit on that bed, you sit on that bed. If that bed busts when you sit on it, then be like, oh, well, yeah. Can y'all get a firmer bed? Can y'all get a firmer bed frame? Like whatever the case is, if the mattress is looking nasty, like I need you to do that. If you know good and well that you came here and you ain't got no sheets, can you get some sheets for me? Can you order some sheets? Whatever the case is. Like, I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm being serious right now. I did not ask for it, but the owner did actually buy some sheet sets for me. I didn't ask for it. I actually came from the United States with some because my OCD works like that. But she actually had some brand new sheet sets shipped to me. And when her handyman came, then he gave it to me and everything, like took it out of the package because it was an Amazon delivery. So took it out of the package and then handed me the sheet sets that were still in a completely different package. So yeah, my owner is very cool. But you want to have those things documented because yeah, if somebody doesn't come and cut the grass and it's not in your paperwork, then you're responsible for it. So when signing came, which I was not aware of this. This is information that I'm learning as I go and as I grow, and I'm passing on to you. Since it was said that you don't worry about the front grass and we take care of that, then I'm like, okay, cool. But it's not in my documentation, right? Someone is coming and taking care of it, but it's not in my documentation. So what if they decided, like I said, what if nobody showed up and I was like, hey, somebody didn't come cut the grass, then the owner could easily come back and be like, that's your responsibility. And again, it's not in writing. You didn't get it in writing. You didn't make sure it was in the lease. So it's your responsibility. That's another expense that you have that you didn't plan on. And now you have to figure out who, what, where, and when. So be very mindful. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that when you are doing that tour, questions will be asked of you. They'll want to know what you do. Are you married? Are you single? Do you have any kids? Do you have any pets? They're wanting to know what's going to be in this environment. What kind of person are you? All these different things they want to know. Um, you want to know the same things about them. This is information I'm going to tell you that I did not get from myself. I did not get from a real estate agent. Nope, I did get from a real estate agent. I did not get from an attorney. There are people that I have heard on the YouTubes that have had excellent places, places that they love at a rent that they love, but their owner slash real estate landlord was not good, horrible customer service, And so even with the real estate agent, it was like, yes, that happens. You can be in the prime area, you can have the best living situation and love everything about where you are, but the owner can be horrible. And in that situation, it leaves you wanting to go. So, real estate agent was like, oh, yeah. Real estate agent was like, nope, the same way they ask you questions, have questions that you ask them. It's like an interview, y'all. Remember when you could do them interviews and they would ask you questions and it's like, okay, do you have any questions for me? And it's like, no, when you gonna have a decision made? Like, what I can do the job. What you no. And so for me, it's like I can pay rent. Like, what you want to know. But no, you're actually supposed to ask them questions because you want to understand their temperament. You want to just build that relationship. And this is your time to start building that relationship. What I was talking to the owner of this place, I was like, hey, I am so sorry, but I speak a little Spanish. I am learning and so forth, and I will try to speak to you in Spanish as I am growing in my Spanish skills. And so she was like, no problem. And then later she told me that she knows a little bit of English and she can communicate to me in English. But for the most part, because I am really trying to learn my Spanish, I communicate to her in Spanish every now and then when it's something like, oh, I have no idea and I don't want to use Google Translate, then I say that part in English, but everything else will be some kind of, I hope you got this, Spanish. So we do have a relationship, but in hindsight and after learning this, I want to have an even better relationship with my next owner because there are some things that I do want to ask, but I don't ask just because hearing lawyers. Y'all, here's the thing. When you are in a contract, you are in a contract. But hearing real estate agents and hearing owners, lawyers, attorneys, when they speak and you don't have that kind of coverage in your contract, you don't want to ask too many questions. You don't want to ask too many questions because you ain't as fully covered as you believe that you are. So Yeah, for my next place, I'll make sure that I'm completely covered so that if I have situations and things that arise, then we can get it covered that way. For example, when I was here, the AC went out in a room, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, the AC went out. Can you help?" Blah 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 blah. And so she was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll have somebody come over and fix it on such and such a day." And I was like, "Well, just when you do rent, we can have it arranged on that day. I'll be here when we do rent." And so it was just like, okay, so that way she knew. And then every time rent comes, I give her a window of when I'll be available. And so she just set up for the AC man to come on such and such a day between that window. And so I just try to keep it really convenient. So when something needs attention, I make sure that it is on rent day. That way you don't have to worry about making an inconvenient run or whatever the case is. But listening to these attorneys, essentially, if it's not in your contract that they will fix the air conditioner, that is your responsibility. I did not know that. So again, I am so grateful for the owner that I have and that I pay rent to. Another thing that I didn't realize people did or didn't do, you will hear a lot of people say that they don't get their deposit back when they move out. And so to just be mindful that you're not going to get your deposit back. Well, when I signed my contract, I had to sign 13 papers, right? And so, no, sorry, I signed 12 papers. And each one of those papers is for the 12 months. So when I pay my rent, I get a paper. The same time I pay my rent, I get a paper. And that essentially says I paid my rent. Because what happens is, let's say it's January of 2023, and no, because I already paid first month. Let's say it's February 2023 and I paid rent, but I didn't get the paper. They can wait until March and be like, but you never paid February, because they still have the February paper. So every single month, I make sure I have my paper and you get rent. I make sure I have my paper and you get rent. So we make sure everything is good. Now, I also have a paper that has the owner's signature on it. And that paper states that she owes me X amount of money. So she has a legal obligation that we did at signing in January 2023, that at the end of the lease, she is to hand me X amount of money and I will hand her that paper. That is something that is legal. It has the information, everything. It is signed. It is down. It is filed. It is on file. Like, we had the actual notary, everything done. So I am so glad that I do have that, because I've heard so many people that say that they're just out of it. Like, they don't have their deposit when they move out. Like, they don't have anything. So moving forward, I will make sure that I always sign the 12 pieces of paper, and that the owner signs that piece of paper that I keep track of so that I get my money back. Otherwise, when you move from place to place to place and people keeping your deposits, you're essentially like, yo, keep in mind, I paid 3.5 times rent, plus I paid the deposit. Imagine if every single time I moved, I didn't get a penny back. Y'all, oh my goodness. So again, that's why I am so grateful that she hired the notary that she did, that did that paperwork and that had the 12 papers that I needed to sign. And it was proof that I was paying every single month. There was no he say, she say. Nobody had to do a receipt. Me getting that paper was my receipt. And then at the end, then we will actually, coming up real soon, I'm gonna have a thing that's gonna be like, hey, so when do you want to pay me my X amount of money? And then I'll give you your paper, so we have that whole thing. And so you want to safeguard yourself. You want to protect yourself. If you don't hear anything that I'm saying, take your time when doing this relationship. Like, this is a very serious relationship, because anything that happens, if it's not in that contract, it is your responsibility. It is coming out of your pocket. You have the power to negotiate use that power. I did not use mine. I will moving forward. Your negotiating power can be with that deposit. It can be with every single penny that you have to hand over. You also need to make sure everything is documented. When you hand over that deposit, if you hand over that deposit, even for the documentation, you will hold this property and not give it to somebody else. When I pay you this deposit, you won't give it to anybody else until such and such a date. And if I don't sign, then you will give me X amount of money back. Whatever you need to put in there, put it in there. So if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, leave it in the comment section. But just know that every single day I am learning more and more information. I am getting knee deep. I am learning the culture and everything. Just know that the customer is not always right. It is not that United States culture that we have where, the customer is always right or sue them and get your money back, whatever the case is. You are in Mexico. So when you are in Mexico, you need to do your best to learn and keep all the resources at your fingertips so that you are always learning and that you are an informed person. Until then, guys, as I learn, I'll try to bring it to you. And thank you for watching. Have a great day. And again, happy Friday the 13th, guys. Okay, bye.